Hello, everyone, and welcome to the One United podcast. This is Wali Siddiqui, and it's been a while. And finally, we're here with some big news. I'm sure all of you are aware of it, and it's big. It is big. The reason for that is because we have finally secured Brian Mbuemo. Yes, almost 50 days have gone by. Almost 50 दिन हो चुके थे the last time we actually spoke about Mbuemo, in which the initial talks were done as per David Ornstein, and in which he had expressed his desire to sign for United. उस बात को हुए almost 50 days हो चुके हैं, and as a result of that we were getting frustrated, we were getting annoyed, we were actually blaming Ineos a lot, the club a lot, Glazers, etc. The same old story. But finally, it is Mbuemo Day, as the title suggests, and I am glad. I'm glad. The reason why I say that I'm glad is because we are getting another Premier League proven player. All right. So he's done well last season as well. Before we talk about his previous season, let's talk about what the deal is between United and Brentford. So, as per Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein, United have bid 65 plus 5 million plus 5 plus 1 million as well pounds. That is a total of 71 million pounds. And the bid has been finally accepted by Brentford. And the first bid, if you remember, it was 55 plus 5. Then the second bid was 60 plus 5. Now it's 65 plus 5 plus 1. And as a result of that, Brentford's valuation has been met. Now, some people are saying that Brentford are the true winners of this transfer saga because, eventually they got what they wanted at the beginning. And United, they were trying to play low ball a little. But what we knew was that Brentford from the beginning were asking more than what Cunha had secured, because as per his stats last season, he turned out to be more of a pivotal player for Brentford than Cunha proved to be for Wolves. Because if you look at his numbers, 20 goals and 7 assists he had in the Premier League last season. That is right, 20 goals and 7 assists. So, that is the reason why I'm actually happy for this signing. Now, some people might say that it's not worth it. 150 million for Cunha plus Mbuemo is something which United have been ripped off of here. But listen, guys, if you look at last season, right, it was it was actually really poor. We were not able to save our lives by even scoring a goal last season. We were not able to do anything in the Premier League. We were not having attackers having that intimidating effect. But now, finally, when we have the likes of Cunha and Mbuemo, now these two players are Premier League proven, and they had a wonderful season for the respective clubs. Cunha for Wolves and Mbuemo for Brentford. Now, what I like about these signings are, see, we've made big signings in the past as well. Let's not forget we got Rasmus Højlund for a similar figure. We've got the likes of Jadon Sancho for a higher figure. We've got the likes of an Alexis Sanchez. We've got the likes of a, let's say, Paul Pogba. It's been a hit and miss more often than not for Manchester United. But what we are seeing right now, the trend is that we're going for people who have actually proven themselves in the Premier League. And, Mbomo and Cunha, considering the recent form, I think they do bring in a personality over here. They do bring in a character which is required in the dressing room. They do bring in that mentality of actually banging in the goals and providing the assists and creating some chances. And as a result of that, the pressure will definitely ease off from the likes of a Bruno Fernandes or an Amad Diallo, because these two players single-handedly, you might say, were carrying our attack. Joshua Zirkzee, I would also include him in that, uh, in a similar frame, but he was quite late to join the party, and just when he was actually getting good, he ended up getting injured. He pulled his hamstring in that game against Newcastle. So we are finally getting to see we will finally get to see a little bit of fluidity when it comes to the top three. All right. Now, of course, the next priority, as per Fabrizio Romano, is that we will be looking for a centre forward, a striker. And before we actually get to that striker situation, we have to sell a few players. Now, there are talks going on between Jadon Sancho. Now, Juventus is interested in Jadon Sancho. Apart from that, there are talks about Alejandro Garnacho and Aston Villa. Now, Marcus Rashford, that's going to be an intriguing situation if we are going to settle for a permanent sale, or is it going to be another loan move for Marcus Rashford? Anthony, we all know it's Real Betis, the club that is actually wanting him to be there. So the outgoings are now something which United will have to work with. In terms of our next move, it's a centre forward that we will definitely be looking into. And as per reports that we had yesterday, uh, there were talks that Benjamin Sesko, who was also an Arsenal target before the whole Victor Gyökeres situation, it was Benjamin Sesko that Arsenal were targeting. But now, all of a sudden, as per reports, it's now being said that Sesko can even fancy a move to Manchester United, despite them missing out in the Champions League. So that is a little bit of an exciting news because considering his performances as well last season, it was one to remember. And he is a young and upcoming striker. And if you look at his season in the German league, in the Bundesliga last season, 33 matches, 13 goals and 5 assists. And the season prior to that, 31 games, 14 goals and 2 assists. Now, of course, the numbers are not as similar to Victor Gyökeres, but is he a talent to look forward to? Yes, he is. And would you be excited if you actually get him? I'm a little bit 50-50 when it comes to the Benjamin Sisko situation. Uh, will he improve our team? I think he will. I think he will. Is he better than Rasmus Højlund? I think he is. All right. Now you might say that Rasmus Højlund also had not similar numbers to Sesko, but he had a few amount of goals for Atlanta. And again, he was a 20-year-old centre forward, and we all thought we had great hopes of him, but it didn't turn out to be good. See, even with this signing, like I said, it's going to be 50-50. We're not anywhere near close to negotiations. It's just that he has expressed his interest with United, and we haven't started talks. But if there is anyone that United are looking at, Sesko is definitely one of the targets. If they get him, I think I will be excited. I will be willing to give him a chance. It is going to be a little difficult in the Premier League, as we know, but he will definitely have to look into it. And considering his goals and the way that he actually scores, and uh, there's a little bit of a let's say, I wouldn't say Martial-esque, but if you look at his touches, if he one touches, the way that he uses his body and all that, he looks like a fluid centre forward. In comparison to a Victor Gyökeres, who is more of an out and out number 9. So if he does come in, there are things to be excited about. But if I am being honest, the one centre forward that I would actually look forward to more than Sesko, this is my personal opinion, is Ollie Watkins. Now, Ollie Watkins is someone that I definitely feel could have a major, major, major impact for Manchester United. And if this is the route that we are going to follow, where we actually sign Matheus Cunha, where we sign Brentford and Mbuemo, if you are going down the route of landing Premier League proven players, then Ollie Watkins is your guy. Yes, you can say that he's 29 years of age, but let's not forget that we signed Van Persie when he was also 29, if I'm not wrong. And we all know what that season turned out to be for him. Now, it's not a similar situation. It's not a similar Manchester United, but anything that can get us to actually challenge for a top 6 position is also something which will be considered as a major improvement, considering we finished at the bottom half of the table. So Ollie Watkins, on the other hand, Premier League proven. And if you look at his stats, 38 games, 16 goals, and 8 assists last season. The season prior to that, 37 goals, 19 goals, 13 assists. The season prior to that, 37 appearances, 15 goals, and 6 assists. So he is definitely one to look out for. And the reason why I also say that is because, see, Marcus Rashford, we are familiar with the Marcus Rashford situation. Aston Villa actually helped us out by loaning him in. Similarly, there are talks between Alejandro Garnacho. There is some sort of a speculation going on there where Garnacho is being preferred by Aston Villa. So the smart move for United to do is, and considering Aston Villa's situation financially, they will also have to sell players. They're looking to get rid of Emi Martinez. Similarly, if they're able to back somewhere close to a 45 or 50 million pounds for Ollie Watkins, that would actually do them a massive favor. So Ollie Watkins is definitely a guy that I can look forward to, and it is a deal. It is a transfer that actually does make sense, considering that we have the likes of uh, Alejandro Garnacho. So if he goes the other way, we can actually trade him off and pay a little more money if that's the case. But this is a deal that might make sense. And the reason why we're discussing this is because we've secured Brian Mbumo, and as per Fabrizio Romano, our next move would be for a centre forward. So will it be a Benjamin Sesko that we go ahead with? Will it be an Ollie Watkins? Will it be a Victor Oshiman? I honestly feel that we're not going to be close to Oshiman by any means. If something like that does happen, I will be pleasantly surprised and shocked. But I don't think that we're going to sniff anywhere close to Oshiman. I think it's either going to be. I honestly think that it's going to be someone like an Ollie Watkins that we might go ahead with. But let's not forget that we are also speculating a transfer move for Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea to United. Now, that is one move that I'm definitely not excited for, because if that happens, then it's better that we have Rasmus Højlund up front. No point of keeping actually two similar centre forwards low in confidence up front. There is no point at all. I'd rather have a Joshua Zirkzee and a Rasmus Højlund than having another underconfident player, Nicholas Jackson, who has faced the heat of the public in the past. And that was Chelsea that we're talking about. That was Chelsea that we're talking about. Manchester United as an institution, as a fan base, is a completely different beast. So if he actually is not able to prove himself here at United, we also saw what happened to Joshua Zirkzee at the beginning of the season in the game against Newcastle at Old Trafford. He was booed after 30 minutes. He was taken off, and we all saw what happened to him. He was in tears when he left to the dressing room. So, and kudos to him for actually reviving his career to a much better margin, because he actually had a much better second half of the season and became one of the more reliable attackers for us. But if something like this does happen to a Nicholas Jackson, if he does move to United, I do not see him coming back, and which is why I want us to stay as far away as possible from someone like a Nicholas Jackson. Now, you might say that he might have a good season, but next season for Chelsea or for any other club or maybe for us, but the proof is in the pudding. Considering his performances, it's something that does worry me a little. And although last season you could say that his stats are a bit decent: 30 games in the Premier League, 10 goals and 5 assists. Uh, I honestly do not have much faith in him. The reason for that is because at this moment of time, Manchester United's major problem is, and last season that was a centre forward. We need someone who can not just link up play like a Joshua Zirkzee, but who could also be on the end of those crosses, those low balls, those through balls. We need someone who could actually contribute in terms of bagging those scruffy goals. We need some that sort of a centre forward this time around. And with Nicholas Jackson, we are not getting that. He will have his golden moments. Let's say he will have his good bright moments, but he is not that. Right now, as of now, he is not that. So it's better that we look in other areas. Like I said, Benjamin Sisko, Ollie Watkins are two of the players that I'm excited for. Ollie Watkins more than a Sesko, because, like I said, Watkins is someone who is more Premier League proven, who has turned out to be, Aston Villa's gunman. Last season, you could say that Marcus Rashford did substitute him on quite a few occasions, and he actually took his place over. But despite that, he still got a good amount of goals for Aston Villa. So if it was under my control, if I was basically one of the directors for Ineos, then I would definitely suggest that this is the guy that we should go ahead with, and he could definitely give us a good 3 to 4 years. I feel 29 years of age. I think he can give us a decent 3 4 year spell. So and you never know if you have the likes of Erasmus Holden. I don't think that we are going to get rid of him. If we are not able to get rid of him, then he will stay, and maybe he might be able to learn. Maybe he can turn out to be a little more effective. And if he doesn't, then you ship him off and get another centre forward till the time Ollie Watkins is actually leading the line of attack at Old Trafford. So that's what my stance is regarding the centre forward situation. And in terms of other signings as well and other positions, so there has been a lot of news circulating United. So the goalkeeping situation now, not a lot of Manchester United fans are pleased with Andre Onana and his situation. Of course, he did not have a good season at all, and two of the major areas of concerns for United has been the front end, the back end, centre forward situation, and the goalkeeping position. So I don't think a lot of fans would actually be disappointed or sad to see Onana go, but that seems like a distant thought at this moment of time. However, as per recent reports by TalkSport and Alex Crook as well, so Antwerp goalkeeper Senne Lammens, if I'm pronouncing it correct, is on the Manchester United Football Club radar. Initial talks have already taken place this summer, with their first interest started in January. So there is interest when it comes to the goalkeeping situation as well. And here's an interesting stat by Statman Dave. I'm sure you all must be aware of him. He's posted this on Twitter. So Sen Lemons had both the most number of saves, which was 127, and the highest save percentage, which was 81.4% in the Belgian Pro League last season. So he plays for Antwerp, and then he's got the record for the most number of saves and the highest percentage of saves in the Belgian Pro League last season. And apart from that, he's also conceded a remarkable 14.5 goals less than the XG would predict. So what this means was, because of other teams were actually in goal scoring and threatening positions in which they could have backed a goal, but despite that, he has turned out to be, uh, a brick uh, right in front of him, and he's actually made some remarkable saves because of which these numbers are now in front of us. So 23 years of age, an exciting prospect. Will United go down that route? That'll be interesting to see. And by the looks of it, he does look like a good prospect. Of course, 3 or 4 days ago, there were talks about Emi Martinez, in which United had started talks with Emi Martinez. Now, I feel that's his agent who's actually circulating the news in the sense that United are interested in Martinez. If there's any other suitors, you can also approach them before United land them. And we all know that despite Emi Martinez, his shortcomings and him being probably in the wrong side of 30s, 34 years of age, for a goalkeeper, I honestly don't think that's a bad age. But for him to be at that side of like on the wrong end of 30s, you must not forget that he is a World Cup winner. He has won the Copa America, and he proved to be quite pivotal for Argentina in both their successive ventures. So, putting that in mind, if Emi Martinez is someone that we have to deal with, then I don't think that should be a problem. Is he better than Andre Onana? Mm, right now, yes, right now I feel that he is. Now Onana has a future ahead of him, whether it's with United or with some other club. But right now, Onana looks very, very tentative between the sticks for Manchester United. If you consider last season as well as the season before, he had his good moments, but his moments in which he actually screwed up were just far worse than his good moments. The elementary mistakes that he made him the talk of the town. And that is something we can't deal with next season because we already are a team in transition. We already have a team which is struggling with a lot of players who are lost in confidence, and we can't have a goalkeeper who just doesn't know how to do basic shot stopping at the stage or at this point of time. That's just gonna hamper our progress even more. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that situation. But the good news, before I wrap it up once again, is that we did get a here we go from Fabrizio Romano. We did get a David Ornstein bomba, which means that it was an exclusive by David Ornstein, which he had stated. But Mbuemo had finally, uh, Brentford has finally, in fact, agreed for the deal for Mbuemo. The bid had been made yesterday. And the other thing that I would like to bring out is that there was news circulating around that Newcastle were actually interested in Wissa from Brentford, and they were actually very interested. And had they been more concrete with their interest, had they had that conversation, the final level conversation with the Wissa with Brentford, then Brentford would basically not be allowing Mbuemo to leave the club because they can't have two of the key men leaving the club at the same time. So, I think that pressure now, if that was a pressure tactic from Brentford, or were Newcastle genuinely interested, um, that is something that we might not know. But it certainly worked in favor of us fans and Manchester United because let's be honest, we finished 15th last season. We need to be more vigilant. We need to be quicker. We need to be more at it. You're looking at other clubs. You're looking at the likes of Liverpool, the likes of Arsenal, Manchester City. All right, they're far beyond our rivals at this point of time. They are levels above us. But you need to take inspiration from them. You need to actually, if you have to go to the next level, if you want to have a top six finish, a top five finish, a top seven finish, I'm not even talking about the top four finish right now because we're far off it. And I need to see a few preseason games to determine what I expect from this team. Now, we will be facing Leeds United. That's on the 19th, that's tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see how we actually perform over there. A lot of people were getting excited by the way that we've been training because some videos were out and which we were having rondos and those one touch sessions in which quite a few United players look sharp. You're talking about the likes of Meno, Zirkzee, Bruno Fernandes, etc. Apart from that, their physicality levels seem to have improved. Uh, you're talking about Casemiro. You're talking about, I don't like to bring him up, but Luke Shaw. You're talking about Zirkzee, Kobe Mino. Uh, Earlier they were a little bulked up, but now I think they've gotten a little more leaner. And if you look at the way Amarim likes to play his football, he wants his attackers to also defend on certain situations, to press high as well. So you need to be ready to go. You can't be all bulky. You need to be ready to go. You need to have that stamina and that endurance level. And I think that's what Amarim has focused on this season. Will he be able to implement it to perfection? Not to perfection, but if anywhere close to what his ideas are, his thought processes is, then I'm sure that will gather a lot of confidence within the club, within the team, and that will pave a way to a positive run. That is what I feel. And like I said, losing as well as winning, they're both contagious. If you actually end up winning three games on the bounce, you will have the confidence to win that fourth, that fifth, that sixth. And that is exactly what we saw last season, but it was the exact opposite. We couldn't string 2 to 3 wins on the bounce at all last season, which is why we finished so low at the table. So, that sort of confidence is important. And in order to gain that confidence, we also need to make more signings. We need to get more players that suit his system while focusing on the outgoings as well, while focusing on the bad fish that need to be out of the river. And with all due respect, we're talking about the likes of Marcus Rashford, Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony, and Jadon Sancho. Once we get rid of them, we'll have more funds. We'll be able to bring in more people, less toxicity, fresher bunch of players, new ideology, and there will be knowing, and these players will know that there is no messing about with this manager. Now, you might have your opinions on Ruben Amorim, whether he's good enough to stay or not, but what we've seen so far is that if you're not in his good books, then you're not going to be at this club. Now, as per a lot of reports, what we've heard is that the likes of Rashford and Jadon Sancho, they've been training only once Amorim and the rest of the players have left the facility. Once they've left, you're allowed to train. So this is how they have been basically isolated, and this does add the pressure on their agents as well. That you better hurry because you need to find these players some clubs. Because if you're not able to, let's not forget the next year there will be a FIFA World Cup, and if they're not good enough, then they won't feature for the national teams. So interesting times ahead. And Boomer, finally we've secured him for £71 million. Matheus Cunha, we've signed him as well. On both flanks, we now have some quality players who do bring in that Premier League experience, who do bring in that goals, those assists, that creativity factor, that personality, and like I said, that physicality, that agility that is needed in the Premier League. They're pretty experienced, and that is something which will again transpire on the rest of the players. It will spread across the rest of the players, and that is something which we actually need. A fresher bunch of players with a much better mindset who have the technical know-how as to how you need to perform in the Premier League, and that is what Cunha and Mbuemo actually offer. So I'm excited. I am excited to see how these two players actually work in tandem, but at the same time, the work is not done yet. I hope in yours, um, we're talking about the management, Manchester United as a club, get in more players that Amarim needs, and also focus on the outgoings. You need to back your manager. Once you back your manager, once you actually show that you have faith in him, then only he will have the confidence of executing his ideas. Because if you're not able to do that, then he will also be a lost cause. And by January, we'll be back to square one. So yeah, that's about it. Mbuemo is ours. Here we go, and hopefully in the next few days we'll be linked with a few more players, and there will be some concrete decisions being made about incomings and outgoings, and we will be here. I will be here uh, to actually discuss about this with the rest of you. And it was very nice talking to you. We'll be back hopefully soon enough for the next transfer rumor or whatever facilitates in the upcoming days. And hopefully that will be soon. Until then, do take very good care of yourself. This is Wali signing off. Take care.